if we wouldn't get flagged on YouTube right now, we would be playing some bump music coming back.
I know. Yeah.
Some old school. I say old school. I
YouTube.
mean,
YouTube's a tough critic on us.
Yeah, it is. We have a man of many things. Chris Kirkpatrick's in studio with us. We know him from NSYNC, but he's also the host of the Name Drop podcast. He joins us in studio. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. It is old school now. That's so.
Okay.
I never thought being in like a '90s pop boy band that you would be the classics.
It's amazing though, because like the life of it, the life of any music always fascinates me, because I mean, you're in NSYNC. You were the band of the late 90s, right? Like there's a run where it's like you are in the zeitgeist.
Right.
And then there goes a time where, okay, now boy bands aren't cool anymore.
Can't get arrested.
And we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to play it, right? I've always bumped NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, LFO, all of them, and I love them. But now it's come back around. And I feel like high school kids, college kids, I'm seeing prom videos of my friends' kids, and they're playing NSYNC at prom now, and everyone knows choreographed dances to it and everything else. So it really has come back around, Chris.
We were the bell bottoms of boy bands. You know, it's cyclical. You knew as soon as it went out, you hated them. You were like, there was a big backlash. But eventually, we were all going to get back into bell bottoms, and here we are.
Who is the cargo shorts of boy bands? Because I want that to come back around. I'm begging cargo shorts to come back around.
That would be 98 degrees probably for sure.
Okay.
They were the No, they might have been the gym shorts, more of cargo shorts.
Cargo shorts were great. Now you've got a small cast on the hand. Can you please explain how this happened? And this is really going to up your street cred with our audience.
It's embarrassing.
I think it's incredible. I think it's awesome.
It's embarrassing because I was telling you guys kind of before the week before. I got invited back up to Pittsburgh with Troy Polamalu to play in a charity flag football game. And there was a lot of, I feel like for my podcast, I need to have my bell right here to ring when I drop a name. But so there was a lot of former Steelers up there playing, and you guys looking for a bell?
Yeah,
I think we have a bell somewhere behind here.
And I swore I was going to get killed. James Harrison was playing in the game. And they get on that field and they turn it on. My father-in-law played football. I brought him back to a game, and the minute he got down on the field, you see the eyes going. You can see them looking around like they're playing again. And I knew when they got out there they were going to play, but sure enough, no injuries at all. I come back playing a charity softball game, and blow.
And it was someone trying to slide into home. In a charity softball game, which, by the way, is a pretty bold move in the charity softball game to slide at any point.
Yeah, well, and to his defense, I don't think he was very much of an athlete. Like, it wasn't like he was, I'm going to take Chris out so I'm safe. Yeah. It was more like, I think I'm falling and I'm going to land on Chris kind of thing. And, he landed on me. I went back to brace myself, and I felt a little snap, and my hand turned purple, and that sucked.
You finished playing the game though.
Yeah, I got a hit, and I didn't want to be that guy that got taken out for a softball injury. I've got friends of mine that are old, waiting tables still in restaurants that are in softball leagues that never have an injury, and here I am, one game and broken hand. So yeah, no, I just kept sticking it in the beer bucket and hoping nobody would notice. And
this makes you the toughest boy band member of all time, right? I can't think of another story that would be tougher than this one, playing with a broken hand.
I don't know about tough. Definitely embarrassed is what it was. Well, especially when I had to go to the trainer afterwards. Softball injury, bro.
So I can't dig through this stuff behind the table. I may be able to convince Colin, though, to pull up a bell sound.
Oh, a ding?
Yeah, and then anytime you name
drop a name.
In honor of your podcast, we can
we do that, Colin?
We can hit the
Is
bell.
That possible?
It's actually a lot of fun because me and Brian McFadden.
Oh, he's got to pull it up first.
Oh.
Yeah, he's looking for it. We do have a photo of Brian McFadden, though. Yeah. We can flash on the screen.
Still good-looking guy. It's so fun because, and you guys know, but you're more in sports radio. You're talking about people all the time, but when him and I talk about people or stories, you start dropping these names, and it's like if anybody else is around, they're like, oh yeah, Brian's like, when I dated Nikki Hilton, ding, it's like,
yep.
So it's kind of a joke, and it became a joke with us, and that's why when we thought about a podcast, he goes, dude, we got to do a podcast. He's the main guy. I'm color commentary. It works. He's great at the interviews, But when you ding those bells, it gives you carte blanche to talk about these things.
And it's whatever you would do at the bar too, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Stories at the bar.
It's stories from the bar, stories that you would never hear because, like right now I'm promoting the podcast or whatever. You're promoting, you're going to ask me questions about that. You don't go, so there was this time with Michael Jackson or whatever. You don't get those weird stories that a lot of times you do, and we get those, and we get some amazing drops out of it.
You seem like a good storyteller. Does it ever get old, though, when you're at the bar or out to dinner and someone's just like serving up a name on a silver platter to you? That they know you have a story about this person? Like tell us about Michael Jackson or whoever that person would be.
The hardest part with that is if you hear somebody telling a story about a celebrity or somebody that I have a crazy story about, I kind of shut up because you don't want to, that person, that might be their only encounter or the biggest deal in their life, and you don't want to show them up with like a bigger story just to be that jerk. You kind of just let them have their moment, and then later on you whisper to your buddy, I was like, yeah, I was over at his house a couple weeks ago,
So I'd prefer to know that you were at that person's house the week before. I'd be like, yeah, just go. Let's hear that story instead.
Yeah.
I'm all for the best story. Whoever's got the best story, then they can tell it.
There we go. There we go.
A little ding.
Now we're ready. Now he's in his element.
Yes.
So the Pop 2000 tour, you're a part of this as well.
Yep.
How different are some of these guys from back in the day to now?
Oh, man.
Who's changed the most versus the least?
They're all completely different. I mean, it's funny because back then, O-Town is the main band on it. We've got O-Town, LFO, Ryan Cabrera, BB Mac. We've had Sugar Ray. We've had Smash Mouth. We just had DJ Scribble. So basically, it's like TRL threw up on a stage.
You need Smashing Pumpkins, Marilyn Manson, and Eminem, and you're good to go.
Yeah, no. Yeah, me and Eminem, that would be great. There's a lot of... I mean, we're all, we're grown up. Most of us have kids.
Yeah.
I think Brad from LFO he's like got the Brady Bunch at this point. There's like, I met some adults that came up and told me they were his kids, and he's got his wife's pregnant again. But you've changed. I think we've all changed for the better. The families definitely change you, and people's perception of us is a lot different now because back then it's like if you're on top of the world and you're in like a boy band, guys hated us, because the girls were like, oh, they're so great, and guys. I remember when the New Kids came out, I hated the New Kids. Because I wasn't the New Kids, it was like I would have done it, but no, I hate them. And now here I was, and basically the New Kids.
Well, see, I think in the day, I hated Backstreet Boys, but I didn't hate NSYNC.
Really?
Yes, I think it was because Backstreet.
We were less threatening.
No, it was just you were after it.
Was
you know what I mean? Like it was just kind
boys.
of you were kind of conditioned to it by then.
Yeah.
I
get that.
I feel like by then it was just okay to listen to Kenny Chesney and then turn on NSYNC.
And this was right in our high school.
Yeah, it's right in our wheelhouse.
Yeah, that was New Kids for me.
It was also for me. It was like I acted like I ironically liked NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and 98 Degrees because all the girls I wanted to hang out with liked all those bands, but really I liked all of them.
Yeah.
Like I could sing all the songs, from the No Strings Attached album also, so I actually did secretly like it, even though we were pretending to just ironically be into it.
I'm a freshman in high school in '99, if that puts it in perspective.
Oh,
this is right down.
Freshman in high school? Oh my God, I graduated high school in '90.
Yeah.
I mean, but look what you're doing in '99.
You guys are babies.
Well, so to go from New Kids on the Block, like you said, you're growing up like, man, I don't like those guys. I like other music, whatever. But you're one of the guys, maybe the guy who really went out and kind of found the fundamental pieces of the band, right? That became NSYNC. When did you know that, okay, we've got something here and it could be something that's really going to blow up?
Oddly enough, I remember when I was in high school, I went to high school in Ohio, and I made the All-Ohio State Fair Youth Choir. And I think I was a junior in high school. And we went down to the state fair in Columbus, Ohio, and we were there for a month, singing, performing around the fair the whole month. And one of the things we did was we opened up for the New Kids because the New Kids were playing the main stage, and we were in these bleachers on the side. And I say opened up, we did really weird versions of modern songs as a choir, always sound dumb. But we did these songs. Then New Kids came out, and I remember all the girls just being like, oh my God, the New Kids are so dreamy. And I'm doing backflips off of trees, trying to do everything I can to get attention. And they were like, knock it off, Chris. You're not the New Kids, okay? fast forward to those girls trying to get into my shows 10 years later and me not giving them the time of day. But I think ding the girls.
Yep.
I think I had a lot of different bands. Like I was always doing quartets. I was always doing a cappella music. I loved a cappella music. There were a lot of bands that I really looked up to. And, we would do all this a cappella music. And when I met Lou Pearlman, and he said, there you go. That's a ding.
Now we're on a roll.
Although that one kind of sounds like an angel ding. And I don't think we can give him the angel ding, really.
True.
But when I knew I was going to find a band for him, and I went out and busted my ass and looked for people, and I was always bringing him the quartets that I had, and he didn't like certain people, or, it dragged on and didn't work out. Guys would quit until I got Justin and JC, because I knew they were on the Mickey Mouse Club, and they joined the band. And once they were in it, I think when it was the three of us, we brought Joey right in. I think from that point on, we knew we had something, and it was going to be, big, because we all wanted to work. Our work ethic was out the door. Like that's all we did was we wanted to rehearse. We wanted to, learn new songs. We wanted to learn new music. We wanted to write. We wanted to play. We wanted to do everything. So I think from that point on is when we figured that out.
Were you still working at Outback Steakhouse?
I was.
And Universal as you were putting the band together?
I was. In fact, when I was at Universal, Joey was at Universal, and that's how I knew Joey. And when I was at the Outback, that's the first time I met JC, was at that Outback. That's not even there anymore, bummer enough, because that was my Waiting moment from the movie Waiting. It was totally that movie. It was totally that movie.
I couldn't serve. I quit after 1 month trying to do that.
Be a server?
Yeah, I hated it, man.
It's tough, but I had
the Sunday crowd was the worst too.
Yeah, I had like what they called like an attention deficit disorder or something, and I was very, very hyper. So I was great. I'd run everybody's food. I'd talk to everybody's table.
Can you imagine what the Happy Birthday song sounded like with these dudes all working together?
Funny enough, working at Universal, I would work at Universal during the day, singing with the high tones, singing 50s doo-wop, and then at night I'd do the Outback, and every time we'd go over to a table and sing Happy Birthday, somebody was like, "Don't quit your day job," and I'm like, "That is my day job."
Yeah.
It's like Righteous Gemstones at Outback.
Right.
And then later, they were also trying to get into NSYNC concerts. Like those girls from high school. You're like, no, I'm sorry, man. You made fun of me at Outback Steakhouse.
All in line together.
Will you take us behind the scenes at TRL? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that show, you could go from NSYNC to Marilyn Manson.
Korn.
Yes. To
Nine Inch Nails.
Eminem.
So what's it like when off air? You're running backstage when they're getting everything ready. You're passing who knows who, right?
Yeah.
Is everybody cool with each other, or is it pretty much I'm better than you, I'm at a different status, and you're fighting for that for that shelf?
Does Eminem actually hate you guys? I guess is what we're asking. Or is that just all a show?
If you're on that show, you've reached a certain status, is what I mean.
I think there's a lot of mutual respect. There's always, you see when you're out like that, especially in that era, you're doing all the award shows. Back then, it was all radio shows. Radio tours and stuff were big because you have to go out with the radio shows and you want your record played. So you're doing all these different, and you're playing all these shows with these bands over and over. And there were a lot of them. One of my favorites is Kid Rock, because, he's always been a friend from, way back in the day. And it's funny because he'd always be the same way. He'd be clowning around with me and Joey in the back or something like that. And he's like, yeah, but don't forget, don't tell anybody that we're friends, type of deal. So
I'm the kid.
Like, I can't be friends with you to ruin my reputation. But, you have a mutual respect for each other, and just being there, like you said, gives you a little bit of clout. But it's always fun, and we have so much respect for other music and other musicians that when you're back there, you're trying to be cool, but you're like, oh my God, I was just hanging with Snoop Dogg. Like it was nothing.
I would never picture Kid Rock with NSYNC backstage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or being friends.
Right.
Like talking to you now, we can totally see how you'd be friends
no
with
doubt.
Kid Rock.
But that's also why we didn't have cell phones, because you don't know what went on.
Thank God.
You thought you knew what went on.
It's just the perception that was not reality, but that the show kind of created that too, in a way, based on the audience and how they would pack people in there.
Right. Yeah, they want that kind of battle. They want you to be fighting for
Was Carson
your band. Cool? Carson's awesome. Carson's amazing. And that's how I met Brian back then too, But Carson was, we actually got a star on the Walk of Fame a few years ago, and we had Carson come in and do our acceptance thing and everything. And it was really nice and good to see him again, and great to see him still killing it on TV.
I saw him the other day. Yeah. I mean, I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
He's still rocking it. And I'm thinking, man, everyone talks about Seacrest. This is the dude.
Yeah.
Carson
Well,
Daly.
it's tough too because you're talking about an era where, everybody always asks about the TRL stuff and stuff because that's all we had. We didn't have the internet. You couldn't just listen to your favorite band. You couldn't just see them anytime you wanted to. You had to clock in at 4 o'clock or 3:30, whenever it came on, and watch the whole show or VCR, record it, tape it, to see your band that day or to see what they were doing, because you don't know what our lives are like because there's no social media.
That studio is now the CBS This Morning studio, I'm told. Nate Burleson told us that.
Yeah,
the TRL
you're right.
studio.
Yeah, right there in Times Square. That's crazy to think about. Have you seen the Woodstock '99 documentary?
I haven't seen the documentary
on Netflix.
But I knew a lot about what went down with a lot of that, which is crazy. But
it's nuts to think about that period of time in popular music and the differences.
Oh yeah,
between Limp Bizkit and you guys.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. And you would see that at award shows. All the time you're walking around award shows and you're always, and Eminem was great about it because Eminem was almost like your social media. Like if something happened, he would talk about it. He would rap about it. He would put it in a song. So you're like, wait, they have beef or they don't like each other or they were dating? I didn't even know about that. So being behind the scenes and getting that aspect of it was always so strange because we have different opinions on artists than everybody else does because you see who they really are. Sometimes you're like, God, I don't know why everybody likes him. He's such a jerk or she's such a jerk. You get a different perspective.
And Eminem dropped your name in that song because you would talk back to him. You were the only one with the balls to actually argue with him or something.
Something like that. That's what he said.
Do you remember when you first heard it?
Oh, I totally remember when I first heard it because we just done a show in Miami, and we were driving back. I lived in Orlando at the time, and we were in our tour bus driving back to Orlando, and my phone started going off, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, have you heard the new Eminem song? You're not going to believe it. He calls you out."
And this is
song.
Without Me? Is that the name of which one is it?
Yeah, Without Me.
Okay.
My first reaction was, well, it's a matter of time. He's done it before. NSYNC rhymes with everything. Stink, pink, whatever. You can put anything in there. Not to say he's not a great lyricist because he is. Especially when I was like, they said, "Oh, but no, we're talking you," and I was like, Chris Kirkpatrick, what does that rhyme with? And then I should have known it's Eminem. Get your ass kicked. That makes sense. Or get on OutKick. That's what we should have changed.
There we go. Even better. There we go. It was, and then you were in with Moby and someone else. Yep. I forget who else. But yeah, I mean, I would take it as a badge of honor personally.
I totally do. And him and I have never really crossed paths like that, so I don't know. He might see me and be like, I hate you. You're such a jerk. Or he might see me and be like, what's up? Water under the bridge. Things are cool. But to me, I'm like, well, if you do hate me, then you shouldn't have given me like one of the best compliments by putting me in such an amazing song.
That's right.
I think you'd be cool. I think you guys would be totally cool with each other if you ran into each other. I think it'd be cool. Yeah. Honestly, I think it's more of a bit than anything else. But who knows? Maybe he does hate you.
Yeah, who knows? Well, I was in a boy band. Like I was like, do I have beef? How does this work? Am I supposed to come out with an Eminem love song now? Or
so why did you go back at him anyway? What was this? I don't even know the beef.
I don't know the beef.
Oh,
I really don't. The only thing I can put together is I remember Joey and I hosting TRL, and I think in one of the things Eminem was coming on, and I referenced him to being like the crocodile hunter. Like I'm like, he likes to get in there and wrestle the alligators, and that's how people, and I'm guessing he might meet me or we might meet, and he might be like, "No, dude, remember when you said this?" And I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I had a big mouth back then. I like to talk just to talk." You don't think anybody's really listening. You're on TRL. Oh, nobody's watching this.
Oh, it's crazy.
How did the whole opportunity to get the band back together for the Trolls movie come together? Because it's really neat to hear, like my daughter who's 9, watching that movie and hearing NSYNC in a new song is pretty neat for me as someone who went to high school when NSYNC was a big deal.
Well, me too. I have a 6-year-old.
That's awesome.
And my son has no idea. He doesn't understand NSYNC. He doesn't understand the whole. He just knows that when I go out, sometimes people stop and ask for pictures. Or he's been to a couple of the Pop 2000 shows and he sees the insanity, and I'm like, dude, this is cute. Like this is cute. You should have been at this other show or whatever.
You weren't in Times Square in 1999.
You didn't play Rock in Rio back in '98 or whatever it was. But it's always, it's cool. I don't really think about it. The Trolls thing came. I think Justin brought that to us though. Justin called us all up and he was like, listen, I got this new song. He goes, it's definitely an NSYNC song. You know, I want you guys to sing on it. And that's when we also did the song Paradise that was on Justin's album. So it was very cool. It was fun to be back with the guys again, especially as crazy as it sounds, doing this tour with O-Town and all these other bands. I feel like we've become such close friends because we're always touring, always doing these crazy shows that I miss being with all the guys again and those days.
So did both songs come to you at the same time?
Yeah,
or you
we
had
did
the
them
one
both.
song and then
We did them both in
okay.
like, I did my parts in like 2 days, I think, both songs. And there was a third song that I don't know what happened to it. But it wasn't for anything.
Taylor Swift and the Swifties. Is that more like your era, or is this on a completely different scale? Do you relate to just how?
Oh, this is on a completely different scale. I mean, I would assume, you know, again, we didn't have social media, so it was hard for us to really understand the fandom
Now
that we
think
had.
if you did.
Oh my God. If we did, I would have
You think
been,
it's similar?
I would have been in trouble, canceled, all of that real quickly. But
I think all of us, everyone,
No.
not even famous band members would have been canceled if social
for
media was
sure.
around for a long time.
For sure. But there was no, her level is something I've never even seen before. I mean, this is so astronomical because, you know, she's got something that every boy wants and every girl wants to be. And we were more like what girls liked and what boys wanted to kick the crap out of, you know. It was like she has everybody, and she's so amazing, so talented. You know, she just has so much going for her that it's fun to watch because I feel like watching her as a musician is like watching Jordan play in his heyday or something. You're getting to see something that only comes along every couple decades or whatever it is.
Yeah, just in the lifespan of music on the planet, there's only a handful that can sell out globally what she's doing.
Yeah, she's
night
on
after
Michael
night
Jackson
after night
level.
after
Like,
yeah, it's insane.
Well, and now also the crossover with, you're a big sports guy, Chris, but having Travis
With
Kelce.
Travis, right?
Yeah.
And now you're exposing yourself to a completely different audience. You grew up in a big sports area, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
Ohio, big Pittsburgh sports fan. You grew up playing sports, but to see that cross-section with her, yeah, that's something you've, I'm sure, always been interested in growing up, playing sports and being into it.
Of course. You know, you always, as a kid, you always, for the most part, if you are athletic and like to play sports, you dream of growing up and playing for your favorite team or whatever it is. But I think that the Travis Kelce thing is amazing, you know, because now she's crossing it over, and you see all these things where dads are watching Monday Night Football with their daughters. Because Kansas City's playing. Oh, I got to watch, you know, Travis Kelce. This is Taylor Swift's boyfriend, which is funny that's the way it gets referenced. It's like, you know, oh no, but that's Travis Kelce. You know, he actually has some better numbers than some of the best tight ends that have ever played the game. But they watch it and they're into it, and that gets them into football. And then eventually, you know, down the road, if Travis retires or whatever, they might still be into it because they got into it in the beginning when, you know, Travis got them into it. So it's pretty amazing to see that crossover and see the dads that slowly become Swiftie fans, or the Kansas City fans that are Swiftie fans.
So there's many that believe this is all set up at the very beginning. I think most people are like, oh, it's real now. How many relationships in the music industry and that cross over are set up legitimately just for the
PR,
for the reaction?
I never had.
You never saw it?
I mean, I guess if you went back to like maybe the Michael Jackson and
like the Tom Cruise stuff, many
Marie
people thought
Lisa
that was.
Marie Presley.
But even in music, nothing like that.
I don't. If it is, I don't know about it.
That's good to know.
I'm out of it. I'm out of that. Every time I see that Illuminati or whatever stuff that they say that happens in the big stuff, I'm like, I mean, our band was pretty big, and I'm not involved in any of that, unless maybe that's why I'm not now, because I didn't get the tattoo and stuff, but I don't have the witch following me around.
I'm just thinking.
Well, I feel like there could be organic setups too. Like you have powerful managers,
sure.
That's right.
agents.
For
They're
sure.
like, hey, I think you'd like this person.
Yeah.
And in their mind, they're thinking, if they can, you know, I represent this person and I represent this person. If we could get them together, liking each other, and get paparazzi around taking photos, that's going to be good for my bottom line. That's where I think it happens, but it could be organic.
Well, but too, if you do have the same management, you're going to be around them
They're
more
opening
because
for you.
Yeah, there's an opening to be, oh, I've got you going, or the same PR person or whatever it is. If you have that in common, oh, I work PR for him and her, you're both going to this thing tonight, we'll go together so I can take care of both of you. Then it's like, oh, hey, nice to meet you.
That makes sense.
You seem incredibly normal. I say that as a compliment, right? Like just
somehow I think that's a compliment.
Oh, like you could easy conversationalist, right? And I'm sure the podcast
Makes
shows
for a good
that
name
also.
drop. Yeah.
For name drop.
Uh-huh.
Do you find that most famous people that you've encountered over your life are more like you as a conversationalist, or are very, very different from most other humans?
No, there's a difference. There's a lot of times, growing up. I mean, I grew up really poor, really underprivileged. Didn't have. I think my son, who is 6 years old, has traveled more in his 6 years than I did my entire life before the band. So it's like I didn't get out. I was very sheltered. I didn't know how life worked. I'm a blue collar kid. I feel like I've always been a blue collar kid. When we were on tour, I had more fun hanging out with the crew than I did with whatever celebrity came to the shows. I was friends with a lot of hockey guys, which I still feel is very blue collar.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't fit in as well into the scene as much. To be honest, that's why I love this town, and we decided to move here almost 9 years ago, because the people here are very, I don't want to say blue collar, but very real people and very honest and earnest people, and they're more like my people. Like, it's easier to hang out, and you have a lot more in common than, say, New York or LA or Chicago, where you're with these people, and I'm like, man, I just want a burger and fries. I don't care about whatever that little crap you're eating there is, But so I wouldn't say most, but maybe most. I don't know. A lot of them for sure are different, and especially because they're artists. You get an artist, and sometimes they're very quirky, or they have something that doesn't fit the norm, and they've embraced it. So it's like they have all these weird asks or whatever it is. So I don't know. I just grew up blue collar, and my grandparents, uncles, aunts all worked in a glass plant, and thought I was going to work in the glass plant, and ended up in a boy band.
What do you have in your rider?
In my rider, let's see. I have peanut butter, I have bread, peanut butter and jelly, pretzels and French onion dip, vegetables, fruit, and flow water, and that's about it. Nothing major.
You're not taking advantage of this the way we would.
I know. Back in the day, I used to put like PlayStation games.
Yes.
I was like, man, I'm gonna get my money's worth out of this. If they give it to me for free, but then I found out I think we pay for it anyway.
Probably played like the NHL PlayStation game back in the day with NHL, all your connections to hockey.
Madden, when he was still on the cover, like that's how old all that stuff is.
You were talking about Nashville. I'm not injecting politics into this, but it's being referred to as kind of conservative Hollywood for a lot of people that are moving here. Mm-hmm. What I find is people aren't bothered as much by people in Nashville, right? Like I have a friend who said they ran into Nicole Kidman at Bread and Company one time, and she's just sitting there ordering a bagel, and everyone knows who it is, but not a single person said anything to Nicole Kidman, who was there by herself getting a bagel. You can't do that, as you mentioned, in New York or LA.
Do you know what's great about this town is the fact that that's like an unwritten rule, and not to say like, because honestly, I never mind being noticed or taking pictures. I mean, it's you got to be flattered a bit, like, oh, you still recognize me or remember or whatever it is. But one of the greatest things about this town just makes me laugh every time, and almost every time, if I'm stopped in Nashville by a local or somebody from Nashville, they always say the exact same thing, and that's, hey, I know we're not supposed to do this, but it's like, I'm like, no, there's no rules. You can do it if you want to. It's totally fine.
That's probably their first time they've ever done it, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe.
I believe them.
Maybe. But it is great. Like you said, walking anywhere on any given Sunday, or any bar you go into, somebody jumps up on stage and does a couple songs, or, whatever it is, a lot of people are here. And I feel like the town is so great that people enjoy the town. They don't come here to make it LA. And if they do come here to make it LA, they don't stay. They
Yeah.
don't stay very long because it doesn't turn into that. They don't like the hometown. They're like, man, this got too quiet. I need to go back or whatever.
Chad, can you imagine Chris Kirkpatrick, Pittsburgh fan, on the Name Drop podcast with Antonio Brown?
Oh man.
Oh my!
Have you seen his
God.
social media?
Antonio Brown on social media is quite the follow now.
Well, you know, growing up a Steelers fan, it's amazing to me, you know, the greatest wide receiver that Pittsburgh ever had, and that's going through my favorite of all time, Lynn Swann, John Stallworth, these guys, but Antonio Brown, you know, and then I was there, I sang the anthem in Pittsburgh, his last game, I think, with the Steelers, and he wasn't even playing. He was in the tunnel with a big,
Mink
coat on. And, you know, I never had a problem with the guy. He's always been, you know, he was nice, shook his hand a few times. But just, you know, was it the Vontaze Burfict hit or what was it?
It was
that
something
just
like that, man.
knocked something loose that's like, dude, you have friends. Like there's, you know, Steelers, even the coach, everybody was on his side. Like, look, dude, we want to help you. We want to support you. And, you know, he just burns all the bridges.
And he knows what he's doing.
he went a
too.
different direction. He definitely went in a
he's
different
admitting
direction.
that on social. Like, it's a bizarre.
You think
twist.
he says he knows what he's doing, but obviously he does. You know, they say no press is bad press, but
That's fair. But his
still-
hashtag is CTESPN.
is it really?
Some
Yeah.
press can be bad press, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm amazed.
A great guest though for you.
Yeah,
as a- well,
that would be amazing.
Mike Tomlin would be a great guest for you
man.
also.
Mike Tomlin was the coach of our flag football team.
Oh, that's
and-
awesome.
And Troy,
Is he as cool as he seems?
Oh, he's cooler. He's cooler. Except he does look like Brandon Ayuk, but he's just so cool that Troy Polamalu got to pick the teams, and he basically put everybody on the one team, and all of us celebrities and stuff, and people that paid to play in the game on the other team. And Tomlin was our coach, and he kept calling us the Generals. And I was like, I know what I can hear you. You're saying it out loud. We get it. They're the Globetrotters. We're the Generals. We understand. But it was, what a great guy. What a great guy for the city. You know, I'm friends with the organization, and I remember when I was friends with Cower when he was there, and I remember when Tomlin first came in asking them about, like, how is he? Is he like Cower? Is he cool? They're like, man, he
Look at this, Chris.
goes up
You
to
nailed
everyone.
it.
You
Right
crushed
to your
it.
left.
I told
Look
you.
at
Side by
that.
side.
I told you, look at
Yeah,
that.
they're
Look at that.
very, very similar.
They're brothers from another mother.
I'm amazed that anyone in Pittsburgh does not like Mike Tomlin. He's never had a losing season. But yet there's
they're never
some
happy.
dissension from people about him, and I don't get it.
It could be a lot worse.
I think they were just stuck. You know, they were stuck in a season where, you know, being a Steelers fan, it was like we were stuck in this mediocre mode of somehow we make this amazing run and we make the playoffs. But as soon as the playoffs start, like I almost take my Steelers jersey off and like, wow, what a great season, you know, to come back like that. Cause you know, we're going to get blown out in the first game. And, you know, I think we've got one of the longest streaks now of one and dones, you know, in the playoffs. So
Last 4, right? Last 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
In.
And one
But
of
you're
them was,
always in.
one of them was Cleveland, for God's sakes, which really hurts.
Well, they're not. That won't happen again anytime soon, right?
I don't know. They're picking them. You know, Baltimore, I think, first.
The whole division.
Cleveland second, Bengals third, and us fourth in that division. It is by far the toughest division.
Isn't it fun
in
to look down
football.
an entire city like that? Like if you're from the
All black and
Pittsburgh
yellow.
area, but also spent some time in Ohio, but like Pittsburgh dominance of the Cleveland Browns, you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of fun.
I got shoved in a lot of lockers in high school for wearing Lewis Lips jersey or whatever I had on that day if Pittsburgh was playing Cleveland. Because again, I was mouthy. I didn't know what repercussions meant, or I just thought everybody did stuff like that.
And then
You didn't know Eminem was going to shout you
I
out
didn't know
in one
Eminem
of his
was gonna
rap songs
shout
one
me
day?
out. It's like Tyson says, everybody's a good fighter till you get punched in the mouth.
The ultimate alpha move, though, is after all of that, those dudes' girlfriends wanted.
Oh yeah. You can look
played
back
every
just
album.
knowing like all of those dudes that shoved you into a locker or
Man.
tried
Yeah.
to, all of their girlfriends were trying to get tickets from you.
Yeah.
What, 8, 9, 10 years later?
Yeah, maybe they didn't want me as much as they wanted Justin or Joey or the better looking guys. But you know, honestly, I guess looking at it now that you said you were threatened by Backstreet and Never Us. I guess it does make sense. Maybe we aren't the most attractive.
No, that's what I heard
band.
first, and then there was a battle between like who
It's all right,
which one you.
I had a pineapple on my head, for God's sake.
Well,
like, I wasn't out. I wasn't out to be on a poster on your wall.
I
like, trying
wished
to be
I
cute.
did. You know what I mean? Everybody, I couldn't. Chad had the frosted tips. Did you not, Chad?
One summer, I think I went frosted tips a little
nice.
bit. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, let's
You guys
be
set the
honest.
trends.
Average civilians had no shot against any member
was like
of NSYNC or Backstreet
It was
Boys.
NSYNC and
of
Jamiroquai
our
that set the
age.
trends for us back in
Yeah,
the day.
love me some Jamiroquai.
So good.
Hey man, this feels like kind of what the podcast would be about, right? You sit down and shoot
Except
it
we
with
just
Brian
ding every
McFadden.
time you talk about.
That's fair.
Yeah, a celebrity,
That's
which
fair.
makes you a little more.
So next edition is out when? Next episode?
We just released the one today.
Good.
Today with Richard Marx on it.
Go subscribe now
Yeah.
and check out the Pop.
Richard
2000
Marx, man, he went on a tear.
Man, he's unbelievable.
Back in the if you go
He
back
is
and I can just
unbelievable.
play you Richard Marx songs like that. Yeah, okay.
And the
I know
ones
that
he's
one.
written,
I know that one. I know
there's
that one.
ones he's written that he never did. He did This I Promise You for Us.
Oh wow.
You know, that's who wrote that. That's when I became, friends with him. And at the time, it was one of those things. That's who I grew up on. Not to make him feel old, but that's, that was the 80s. I was actually in the 80s, funny enough, to be in the band NSYNC. My bands that I listened to were, the Ramones. I was a big Ramones guy. I loved Def Leppard. I loved the rock. I loved the punk. I did like a lot of hip hop. I loved the Beastie Boys. I loved like a lot of but I was always into pop music, but it was always rock pop or hip hop pop or whatever.
But you can hear a lot of all of that in NSYNC. I mean, music's not that far removed from each different genre if you really want to play to connect the dots, right?
It was at the time, now looking back, it's not. But at the time, it was a little edgier than the bubblegum pop that was out there. And that's actually when I was sitting around one day and I think we were doing an interview and they were, because they kept throwing bubblegum pop. You guys are bubblegum pop. And one time I was like, man, it's not bubblegum pop though. This is like, it's a lot dirtier. Like, this is like dirty pop, it's very dirty. And then that JC went out and wrote a song and called it dirty pop. And the next thing you know, that like took off. But that's kind of what it was. It was like you took that bubblegum pop and dropped it in some dirt and kicked it around a little bit and then put it back out.
How many albums did you guys have to turn? How fast? You said JC went out and wrote something. Like
meaning, in the span?
Yeah.
It was pretty quick. Like, it really was, I want to say, from the time we hit in the States until they did put out a greatest hits because we owed the record label another record. So they're like, we're going to put out a greatest hits or, record for you. But I think we turned out 5 or 6 albums in, the course of like 4 years.
Wow.
Was it Germany where you hit first?
Germany, Austria, Switzerland is where we originally Germany, but that's a whole, they call it the gas territory. Germany, Austria, Switzerland. They all go in, which is crazy because we'd go over there and we'd be on the biggest show in Germany. It's 9 million viewers or something like that. And then we'd come home and we'd tell our friends about the band we were in. They're like, who? Never heard of you guys. Like, whatever. Like, yeah, we're real big in Germany. Us and David Hasselhoff.
It's a great line at a bar. To a girl. Yeah, we're huge in Germany.
We're
Trust
huge.
me about this.
We're huge. So I was
Especially
in NSYNC.
pre-social media. Right.
Yeah, I was in NSYNC. That's a pretty good one for the girls, too.
Yeah, that works.
Not bad.
My wife fell for it.
Hey, man,
You're
thank you for the time.
Appreciate you for doing
Yeah.
this.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me on.
We're subscribing to the podcast.
You guys got to have fun with this. This just
a blast,
seems...
Dude. Look at our scene, too.
I know, the scene...
We work in a moonshine distillery, for God's sakes.
What you get
Of
to
course we're
talk
having
about
fun.
all day long. Like, you guys are talking
It's the playground of life.
Yeah, we talk about this. You talk about this with your buddies all the time. And
We're at a bar every day. Is
Right.
where we pull up to the bar.
Literally at a bar every day.
That's great.
Figuratively and literally at a
Yeah.
bar. It's
And
perfect.
we're talking to NSYNC. We're talking to Chris Kirkpatrick.
Doesn't get any better.
You're welcome to join us anytime.
Oh, don't say that.
Hey,
I'll see you in 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Get back
yeah.
again tomorrow. Hey, guys.
we'll
That's
see
when
you-
you're like...
we'll see you at the bar.
Oh, he's back. Get rid of him.
Let's get the tab that never closes.
Does
going.
this napkin smell like chloroform, Chris?
oh, so good.
Perfect way
Was
to
that
end
a
it.
guy?
Perfect conclusion.
John McClane joins us when we come back. Big thanks to Chris Kirkpatrick. Check out the Name Drop podcast with Brian McFadden as well, and the On the Road with Pop 2000 tour, right? That's on the road coming up this Friday.
Friday
back
in
at it.
Mount
We're trying
Vernon,
to get
Kentucky.
it here. We're actually trying to get it right here.
Let's do it.
Let's make
do
it.
Why can't we?
Yeah,
Let's just declare it. It's
Do
happening.
the show.
Yeah. I mean, we'll interview O-Town and LFO too. We'll do it. We'll do them all.
Let's get weird.
Come on, we'll do them all right here in 6th and Peabody. Let's make it happen.